This may be it. Oh. Oh, thank God.
We're there?
Yeah. Hold on. Ready? We're about to go live. Stream's in excellent condition. Okay, we are live. This is Terza TV Live. With me in the studio, I have Wayne Spinacci, who in the SCA is known as Don Pierre, also Dirty Pierre, and by his friends affectionately known as Knuckles, which, you know, we all really enjoy. This is Terza TV Live. We've got root beer. We've got ginger ale.
Beer and pizza.
Beer and pizza.
Ginger beer, root beer, pizza.
So we're gonna have a nice little conversation about fencing, and we're just gonna kind of run with it. So I'm gonna. This is our first live show, so it's gonna be a little stuttered. Also, it took a while to get connected. The darn thing was just not cooperating. So Wayne.
Yes.
Can you give us an idea of what your history is like? You know, how you got involved in fencing and how, your background and something like that.
Okay, well, my background started, I assume you want post-umbilical cut?
Yeah, post-umbilical.
All right, well, we'll fast forward a decade or a few. I used to be a martial artist. Had a lot more enthusiasm than common sense, which is a dangerous combination. And essentially, I overtrained and my body started breaking on me. And the doctor said, well, you can keep doing what you're doing or walk. And I figured walking was probably a lot more useful on a day-to-day basis. So, I closed my dojo. I told Sensei, sayonara. And was adrift there for about 5 to 7 years. The way my brain is cross-wired, and trust me, my brain is cross-wired, I have to play a killing game. Killing game. And karate, martial arts, and to listen to some people talk the way I drive, will definitely qualify as that. And a friend of mine was very into Ren fairs, and it just seemed to be fun to get dressed up. And went down there, and another friend of ours says, well, if you like this, you probably like the SCA. And I went to my first event. It was 1994, May of 94, and I really liked it. It was a lot of fun, and I saw this area that had been roped off that we were going to. I didn't know what it was for at the time. But that was what they call the list field, the place where the actual fighting happens. And people started taking out swords and everything, and piqued my interest. And that's the first time I saw that character. And I was a very fascinated spectator, and it's like, well, there's killing involved, what's not to like? And since, force is a non-issue in that, I didn't have to worry about my knees, my wrists, my shoulders, my back, my elbows, and any of the other stuff that had starting to wear out at the tender age of 44. And but I came away with the notion, well, I could do that. So I signed up and signed on, and about a year later, I got authorized, and I pretty much just took it from there. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
Did you find it challenging?
Did I find it challenging? I found the social aspect a lot more challenging than the fighting aspect of it. Like in the martial arts, the challenge was twofold. The first part was physical. I have as much natural athletic ability as an ashtray. So anything I got physically, I really had to work for, including the knuckles.
You know, that is a good nickname for you.
If you say so.
Well, because the way you got, I don't know if you remember how you got that nickname, but we were at a wedding for a friend. I can't remember which one. Somebody got married. And you showed up in a pinstripe suit, looking better than the rest of us.
The black fedora.
Black fedora, you know.
Chocolate gray tie and a black shirt, yeah.
You were dating your ex-wife at the time. Future ex-wife. And you cut a handsome figure, sir. And it was one of those. I looked at you and I remember. You know, I looked at you and I remember saying, "Oh, you look like your nickname should be Knuckles." You know, and it just kind of stuck.
Yeah, it kind of stuck. I thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate it.
You know, it could have been worse.
It has been.
Yeah. I mean, you know, we can't repeat half of the nicknames that we've both earned over the years.
Well, because we can't remember them.
Well, you know, that's all the concussions. You know, I remember my second concussion like it was my fourth. So, yeah, but I remember that day. It's like, you know, one of the few things that I actually do remember. And here's the one thing I remember most of that day, because you looked at me and you said, "Ready? Watch this." In that tone that you get. And you went dancing.
Oh, yeah,
and everybody freaked out. They're like, "Wayne's dancing? And he's really good at it?" And yeah, that was just, I mean, you get this tone. You get this tone when you're talking, when you want to, you know, really make a point. Your eyes narrow and you go, "Watch this," you know, and it's like comes out of the depths of hell, and then you'll do something hilarious or really, really painful, you know, and that's kind
frequently the same thing.
Yeah. Well, you know, comedy and tragedy are often intermixed really, really well, and I mean, I'm not bringing this up to make fun of you, because, you know, God knows you're only about 4 feet away, and that would be really, and I can't go backwards. We're both pretty much locked in this tiny little studio. But it's just one of the fond memories that I actually have that I can still remember.
It's only going to get worse as you get older, kid.
What?
I told you to make you get an F.
Yeah. So, now you were in the SCA for quite some time.
Yeah, about 20 years.
And you really... You were there when it was foil epee, you know, when it was...
Yes, when Schlager was the end of the universe as we know it.
How did you handle that transition, you know? Because for me personally, Schlager was when we were given the tool that started the investigation of more historical fencing, made it more possible, because, you know, all the people were saying, "Oh, that'll never work." Well, no, you know, an incortada is not going to work with a foil or epee very well, because evasion is really easy with something that size. But
see, I found it just the opposite. I found it really, really hard to evade foils and epes because they're so light and they can change direction so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was my game in karate: evasion, motion interruption, working off the counter. I charge extra to work off the bed. And so epee and foil was I didn't understand why I had to give them another target with my offhand, because I could never catch the bloody thing.
Yeah.
Because they were so fast. But as soon as we went to the heavier blades, it's like, oh, okay. Now this makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was just like the whole world opened up and suddenly...
Game changed. You know, games are functions of their rules. But even if the rules are written identically, and you go out on the racetrack with, say, a Formula One, or a prototype racer, Le Mans 24 Hours comes to mind. Even though you'd be functioning by the same rules, the equipment is so different that the application is just, you know, not even in the same zip code. And that's when you say transition, I God, I started in the martial arts when I was 1969. And I'm used to having things thrown at me that are not intended to bend.
Neither did my parents in 1969. That's when I showed up.
Yeah, well, I was lucky, and then I was careful. So although I've been obvious from time to time, I've never been a parent. But knees, legs, I mean, God, having Gus give you a back kick, it's like doing a push-up on a mortar when they fire it. So when I'm thinking of impact, I'm thinking of, second, third, fourth degree black belt who does not have your best interests in mind, is really, really angry at you for something you said. Imagine that.
I
know. I would be aghast, too, if somebody told me that. Yeah. And here's somebody coming at me with something that's made out of tempered steel. Ooh, sounds scary. But it's intended to bend. Mm-hmm. And, the more it bends, the more of the force you don't have to buy. The only time Gus's knees bent is when he crouched down next to me to see if I was still conscious, which most of the time I was, but not always.
Tell our viewers about Gus.
Gus.
Yeah.
Gus. He's the human tank.
Yeah.
Gus. Eric Gustin.
Hopefully he'll watch this at some point.
Are you kidding me? It's on a computer. Gus is the original Luddite. He thinks writing with a bent stylus on a clay tablet in cuneiform is the cutting edge of technology. And I can say that because I don't have to worry about him back kicking me at the moment.
Yeah, because he's not here.
Precisely.
But
Gus is very inflexible. I mean, he can kick you in the solar plexus. Can I attest to that? But not much higher. But he's very compactly built, and he's not a bodybuilder. He's just inherently strong. He's just naturally strong. And when he hits you, you can't. If you didn't see the shot coming in, you can't tell if he punched or kicked you. He once kicked me off a stage. I landed in the audience 20 feet away from the point of departure. And he wasn't trying to kick me. I read the motion wrong. I should have gone that way. And I went this way and just walked right into a spinning back kick. And the only reason I survived it was just before it hit, I realized, and I picked my feet up at the point of impact. So rather than it just flattening me, it moved me 20 feet off the edge of a stage.
I'll tell you, we both saw Gus recently, and the thing that struck me is because I remember meeting Gus a couple of times and really liking him, and him being a really cool dude, and he was still a cool dude when I saw him a couple of months ago. But God is my witness, I thought he was like 9 feet tall.
Well, that's because you haven't sparred him. As soon as you come up from the bow, he grows about 3 feet wider than you in all direction and about 3 feet taller than you. He's a human tank.
But he's only like 5'7", 5'6".
No, he's more like 5'7", 5'8".
Okay.
But he's compactly built.
Yeah.
I mean, his muscles have muscles.
Yeah.
So that his muscles can move. They need their own muscles.
Yeah.
That's how much. I mean, he's just. Yeah. And.
Gus smash.
Gus smash. Actually, he just smash. He doesn't really care about it. Who does it. But he is one of the very, very few people that I could 100% trust in a sparring match. When you're sparring, a lot of the times, and they never show you this part on the television or in the movies, you have to protect yourself. And, you say, well, of course you protect yourself. That's why you study karate. No. Some of those guys out there, they see you as rungs on their ego ladder. And some of them just like to hurt people. And Gus was none of that. His control was exquisite. I mean, his control was just exquisite. Unless you did something stupid like walk into his technique, in which case that was my mistake, not his. But after the bows, there was not a thought in my mind of self-protection, and I could literally maneuver myself into position and just throw myself at him. I have no idea what I'm going to do when I get there, but I'll figure something out because it's Gus. And but now I've got his attention. You got to have to do something with it. You know, if I kind of felt like the Chihuahua that was chasing the garbage truck that finally stopped. Oh, nice. Now what do you do with it? And
my dog did that with a bus, and it was the cutest thing because she just lost her shit.
Yep.
And then it's a fox terrier, so it's all like murder,
fox terrorist, yes,
murder and bounce. And then the bus stops, and Kim looks at her, and goes, "Well, what now, stupid?"
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
So once you've got Gus's attention, but in any event, you could literally just throw yourself at him. And we would make people in the audience, I mean, trained people, from white belts up to 5th, 6th Dan black belts, nervous with the enthusiasm with which we chased each other around. Because people often ask me, how the hell could you fight that guy? I said, well, it's like this. When you go to a bullfight, who do you bet on?
I bet on the bull.
Yeah, because you're you. Most people would bet on the matador. And that's how I played Gus. I got him to commit to a line of attack and then got the hell off that line. Mm-hmm. And as he went charging on past, I'd leave something that was very pleasant for me for him to run into. He was just really strong, really fast, really accurate, really kind and gentle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was just absolute joy to spar.
The thing I that every time I've met Gus, and granted it's only been 3 or 4 times, but he treats you like you've been friends forever, and he's always glad to see you.
Yes, and with him it's genuine.
Yeah.
He's not a politician. He doesn't do politics.
In my experience in combative sports like the SCA and things like that, there is an element of people telling you how great they are, and I always thought it was
same thing in karate.
Due to a profound insecurity.
It is.
And when you run into people like yourself and Gus, and we were just there.
Noah.
Noah. For me,
Mitchell.
Mr. Gardner, mm-hmm. and Aaron. These are people that they don't punch with their ego. They punch with a planet. But that's another story entirely.
Well, if your technique's right, of course you punch with the planet.
Yeah. I hit them with the earth.
Yes.
Ugh. Never was there a phrase that made me go, no, ow, because you're demoing on me.
Yeah.
But so I wanted to ask a question. Mm-hmm. That I think, because the whole focus of this channel of Terza is that anybody can do this.
Okay, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, if you can walk, talk, and tie your shoes, you can do this. You can fight with a sword. You can fight in the martial arts. Walking, talking, tying your shoes are very, very subtle, complex actions that you have to learn to do when explanations and guidance on how to do it make no sense. So if you can walk, if you can talk, and if you can tie your shoes, you have the necessary physical capabilities to do this. How good you get at it is up to you.
Yeah. So the thing that I wanted to get to, because people watching this who know who you are like, I promised you I would never say the phrase that I want to say right now, and I'm keeping my word. See, I'm honest. But there are people that know you as Don Pierre.
Yeah.
And
Sensei Wayne.
I didn't say it.
I said it. I recognize our voices.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to say
I used to be a sensei.
I'm a good friend because I remember usually, sometimes, kind of, sort of, maybe that I said.
I found that mortal threats do wonders for your memory.
You're not wrong, and all the sharp shit's over there.
That's the second time you said a nasty word.
I'm not supposed to say a nasty word. Well, so anyway, what I wanted to get to was, people who know you, who have fought you, who have competed with you and against you. Actually, I don't want to say against you because, the people that really competed with you, it's a with activity.
Yeah.
Because nobody's dying.
We call them opponents, but they aren't.
Yeah, yeah,
And we call them fights, but they aren't.
yeah. Well,
Fights don't have rules.
the law requires that I say yes. So,
What fights have rules?
No. I was just I was looking back at my own fencing history, kind of going back in my head, thinking about the moments of grandfatherly kindness that I.
That always makes me ache in a dozen places when
Yeah.
somebody mentions it.
Yeah, for me it's here and here.
Speaking of that, here's a funny Gus story.
Okay.
Right? I used to have long hair. Well, first off, I used to have hair.
Can you pass me a root beer?
I can pass you a root beer.
That's not a root beer. That's not a root beer. Come on.
What concussions? I never had any concussions.
I are a root beard.
And I will even pass you the opener.
Oh, so I don't have to use my fist?
Give me the opener back. I want to see that.
No.
And one day, I realized I was going bald, and I decided, why wait? So I shaved my head. And the first thing I noticed was I would come back from karate class, and my short ribs wouldn't hurt. That's what I said. What?
What?
What is this madness? And this went on for a couple of months. And one day I was sitting around talking to Gus, and I mentioned, I don't know what the heck, my hair had to do with my short ribs, but ever since I shaved my head, I don't get hit in the short ribs. Short head. It's very short head. And Gus just lost it. I mean, he's just laughing, tears, melted earwax, and snot bubbles. I mean, the guy came unstuck. So I waited, and I said, and the joke is, he said, you had to tell. He said, no, you had a gimme. I said, a gimme? He said, yeah. Your hair would fall down on your eyes, and I'd watch it, and I'd set myself up, and when your arm came up, you blocked your right eye and left yourself open.
You gotta be kidding me. Oh.
No, I'm not kidding.
Oh God, that's so funny. My friend Terry, who is also a fencing buddy, but we go to the gym twice a week. A couple of months ago, before I had this, I had a ponytail, and
I still have my ponytail.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's
Yeah,
in a
the
bag.
plastic bag hanging on the wall.
There's absolutely nothing creepy about that at all.
Good.
Yeah. So he looks at me one day, and Terry's like you. I mean, if the Oracle of Delphi had a goatee and no hair, you two would be high priests of this place. He looks at me and goes, from the front, it looks like you got a full head of hair. From the back, oh man, you're just hanging on way, way too long. And I got to tell you, when I left the gym, next day I went into work, did the whole thing. When I got out of work, hightailed it to the barber, to Supercuts. Viola, really, really sweet girl. And she's like, what are we doing today? I'm like, we're getting rid of all of this because it's just wrong. It's an abomination. She's like, oh, it's not that. Okay, yeah. And
Cut it off.
And she was kind enough, and I got my fake mohawk, which I'm really happy about. So one of the things that I wanted to ask before we got distracted by really fantastic Gus stories, I love that my broken ribs are by Vidal Sassoon.
Yes.
But so a lot of people that know you know you as Don Pierre or the S word.
You can say it. That's what they used to know me as because
Okay.
I used to be that.
All right.
I only take exception to people calling me today.
Yeah, but I've seen you kick, and I'm not far away enough.
There are so many tools.
I know. In fact, we left a knife for the pizza on the table.
Yeah. Well, I prefer the bottle.
I'm
It
sure.
means I can hit you a couple of times with it. But go
Yeah,
on.
yeah, but just make sure when don't get glass in the screens behind me,
Yes,
okay?
dear.
Because, someone can use them. Anyhow, people know you as this, and because I've heard people talk about it, this phenom who just seems to have this, natural rhythm, and you're really hard to tackle as a fighter. But, I mean, you and I both know that's just the end result of all the work. And, I mean, I've seen pictures of you when you were younger, and, you were mortal like everybody else. You put your pants on 2 legs at a time like everybody else, and, kid, well, you don't do that?
One at a time.
Oh,
I'm half Irish. Don't confuse me.
okay. Sorry. I thought you were a twofer. Anyhow,
I'm too shy.
it even makes it
I'm
it
too
even
shy.
better. Yeah.
I'm too shy.
So, what are some of the really hard yet very normal obstacles you had to overcome? Because as you said, you're about as athletically gifted as an ashtray,
Mm-hmm.
and yet I once watched you palm block a kick from a Jingyi guy that sounded like basically a side of beef getting slapped with a baseball bat. And you two just went at it like,
Yeah.
Hawks brothers.
Hawks brother.
Yeah. So how did you get there?
How did I get there? The same way anybody else would get there. One ow at a time. And it started in when I was in the service, and I saw a guy doing this dance to no music, and I asked what he was doing, and he told me he was doing a kata, and that did not compute because I didn't know anything about this sort of stuff. And he showed me the kata, and then I went to my first duty station and ran afoul of my African American brothers because I wasn't black, and so this martial artist took me under his wing, and it was all grandfatherly kindness, lots of ows.
Oh, explain to people what grandfatherly kindness is.
Grandfatherly kindness is when your instructor sees a significant flaw in your worldview and realizes that unless that's corrected, it's going to become habitual, which then makes it almost impossible to correct. And at the time the phrase grandfatherly kindness was coined, that would get you killed. So grandfatherly kindness is the lesson you need to learn, not the lesson you want to learn. And it almost always involves a lot of sensation, commonly known as pain. There is no pain, there's just sensation of varying degrees. Humiliation, and without an ego, you can't be humiliated. And I most often came away with the question, largely unspoken, because I'd already been hurt and humiliated. I'm doing this to myself voluntarily? And asset and liability, as you know, are flip sides of the same coin. Mm-hmm. The strength of something is also its weak point. And the weak point of something is also its strength. So grandfatherly kindness shows you your weak point. And the mental sensibility you need to be an effective fighter can't be taught. You have to take your student up to that edge and then push them. That push is grandfatherly kindness. You knock them out of their familiar and therefore comfortable zone and into the unfamiliar and therefore uncomfortable zone, because essentially a fight is a very uncomfortable zone, and you have to be able to get there like that.
Yeah. I remember the first time of many, but I remember the first time that I experienced real grandfatherly kindness. Real grandfatherly kindness. IR never had concussion, just big head bang. Mm-hmm. Gardner, Mr. Gardner, I was the only one that showed up one day, and he said to me, Aaron says you want to learn the combat application of Terza. And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, okay, let's show you what it looks like.
Oh, I know what that sign means.
Yeah.
That was like my first instructor saying, well, first you'd have to learn how to fall. There were no mats. It was a cement floor.
Yeah. Oh, you learned.
And I learned.
Yeah. So Gardner, we're staying there, and we use the circle as a range gauge.
Mm-hmm.
You train on the circle, you don't fight on the circle.
Yeah.
But he goes, so thrust me in the head. No, we're not wearing masks. He goes, thrust me in the head. My face thrust is pretty fast, and it's known.
I recall.
Yeah, it's known for tagging people.
I recall.
That don't think that it can be hit.
I recall.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're not the only ones here, technically.
Oh, fine.
That's right. So, and I'm resisting, and he goes, "Look, thrust me in the face." I'm like, I don't want to hurt you. And he goes, and he looks at me, and I'm like, oh, that was the wrong thing to say. But he gave me the right thing. He said, either you hit me or I'm going to hit you. That's all it took. One screaming face shot later, he disappears. I mean, not moves, not there. Just gone. Poof. No smoke, no nothing. He is just out of my field of vision. Mm-hmm. And the first indication that I had that this was not the day that I thought it was going to be.
Where was the pain?
It was right above my hip carriage. Then it was between the ribs in the intercostal muscles. And then there was this slow spreading numbing sensation from my armpit radiating downward.
Grandfatherly kindness.
Grandfatherly kindness. He hit me 3 times. Basically, he spun. So the first rotation was the hit to above the hip. The second move, the second rotation was the hit between the ribs, and then he stood up, which is a strike in Terza. Mm-hmm. You actually stand up, and he stood up, and it went right into that nerve cluster under the arm.
Yes.
And that was the lesson, by the way,
that
too.
Was the lesson.
Class ended soon after that.
So the way I got into that ability, as somebody once said, it's really, really annoying because you're always out of reach and never out of range. And so I went from the service. I got out in late 70, and that was when the Kung Fu craze was just taking off, and suddenly everybody was Kung Fu fighting. And that began about 11 and a half years of what I call my crunch and splat period. Mm-hmm. We get together in the back of somebody's yard and beat the living snot out of each other.
Did you ever take out Count Dante?
No.
Sorry.
No.
I just saw a documentary about bad martial arts. And
yeah, he's at the top of that brown tubular pyramid. We all have problems. They just really shouldn't really be played out on a public stage. Yeah. But moving on.
Sorry.
So one of the things I learned really on was that force mattered, and big guys hit harder. And I told you I'm half Irish. It takes me a while to catch on. And those of you who take exception to my disparaging comments about being half Irish, I don't really give an intercourse. I was tall and wiry. When I was 25 years old, I was 6 foot tall, probably weighed about 140, 145 pounds. Mm-hmm. I didn't have any mass. I had a lot of reach. And going toe-to-toe with these gorillas, I'm playing their game. So I decided not to play their game. And one of these days, while I was sitting home nursing a couple of broken ribs from a block I missed from one of these gorillas, I was just channel surfing, and ran across what a matador did when a bull charged. Mm-hmm. And it was like, oh. Then it was a matter of figuring out, how to take that notion and bring it to the game. And that got me into, I became a counterpuncher kind of by default while learning how to evade. Because, you draw an attack, a real, the guy pushes, you push back, and then he goes to push again. Oh, goody, that's just what I want you to do. And as he starts his push, you go, and let him go. Well, what are you going to do as he goes by? Well, let's hold a hand out, let him run into it. Smack. That's a great attention getter. And so it worked. And so I started tweaking it and playing with it. And that's how I got into that whole evasive thing. Mm-hmm. And as far as that thing with blocking Hawks Brothers' kick with a palm block, that works if you're standing in the right spot and not too far away, because they won't do it. Not too close, because you won't be able to you won't be able to get to where you need to be in time. But if you're at that sweet spot, where you're just inside the full extension of their leg, you don't block the kick. You block the knee. Mm-hmm. Because the farther out on that lever you get, the more force there is. Unless the person is specifically striking with the knee or specifically striking with the elbow, and it's a different technique. And then I don't block there, I block at the shoulder. But I block where the power isn't.
Yeah. And if you mess that up, it's going to hurt.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I always liked Hawks Brother. I mean, he was just a character.
Oh, he is definitely a character.
And that T. I'll tell you, one of the first times I felt like a grown-up is when he offered me that tea. That was something. And when he turned to the kid and goes, "No, you're too young." I'm like, I'm a grown-up now.
I'm an adult. Yeah. I'm an adult. I grew up.
Yeah, I done grown up. So, it's a long, strange trip.
Yeah.
Doing this stuff. What do you feel you owe your success to? What
dogged perseverance.
Isn't that also called pig-headedness?
It depends. If it's working, it's dogged perseverance. If it pisses you off, you call it pig-headedness. It's just knowing when to quit has never really been one of my strong suits, which is how come I trained myself into infirmity. We have limits. And in those days, my notion was, okay, well, when you get to your limit, that's the time to get serious.
Yeah.
You can't. That's not a viable long-term plan.
Yeah.
And there wasn't anybody around to tell me, don't do that.
Yeah. So at your height, how would you describe your fitness?
My resting pulse was 38 to 42. You could not tire me out. Yeah. Every day I did 3 sets of 100 push-ups. Every day I did 3 sets of 100 sit-ups. And we're not talking about the stretching drills, the punching drills, the movement drills, all that sort of stuff. Just the work on the machine. Mm-hmm. I was never massive. I didn't train my fast twitch fibers. Mm-hmm. Because when I was 22, I had somebody tell me that enthusiasm was important, but technique was ever so much more so. Mm-hmm. And I'm long and lean, but I'm not really big boned. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I could have bulked up, but now I'm playing somebody else's game. I didn't want to play somebody else's game, so I didn't train my fast twitch fibers. Mm-hmm. I just relied on them when I had them. And I knew that they were going away. By the time I was 25, I'd seen that I had slowed down. Because when I was 20 years old, the old joke, you want to see the fastest punch in the world, you want to see it again? Well, I could do that. Yeah. Couldn't do it when I was 25.
Yeah.
So I realized that I had to change my paradigm from the exoteric, what you can see and quantify, and move it to the esoteric. I had to put down the hammer and I had to pick up the whip. Mm-hmm. So I started training my slow twitch fibers. Well, I can't outstrength them. I could certainly outlast them. Mm-hmm. And so my entire game became baiting people I became a master of the draw to pull you in. And when you got there, I was someplace else.
Yeah. And that was evident in your fencing, which was so fun and aggravating. It's like bonus round.
Bonus
I'm
round.
having fun and I'm pissed off.
Yeah, if my personal best ploy was to frustrate the living snot out of somebody, because if you're emotional, the quality of your attention diminishes, the quantity of your attention diminishes, your energy levels rise to an unsustainable level, and I give you a minute and a half of that, and yeah. That's all you got left. That minute and a half was served to warm me up, and now I just crawl all over you.
I'll tell you, I gotta tell you about something that you were there for that happened, where it was an SCA event. It was War of the Roses, and I hit the wall. You remember that?
Yes.
Remember you hitting the wall?
Yes, I do.
And the object lesson of that is don't try to keep up with Knuckles. Because I was literally 25 years old, dumb as a box of rocks.
You were 25.
Yeah. I mean, there's no getting smarter before, it just.
No.
So I hit the wall and I fell apart, and I had nothing left in the tank. And I think that was the first time that I did that ever. And I got real good at knowing when that was coming and stopping. Which, as I got older, I realized I was smart. When I was younger, I was beating the hell out of myself for it because I'm like, you should be able to,
handle that old bugger. You're 20 years old. He's an old man.
Headbutt the fucker. I gotta stop doing that.
Yeah,
oh my God. I'm the one that said we gotta watch that. Thank you, by the way. The look on your face is priceless whenever I do that. It's like, no. Oh, heaven forbid. Hold on. Where are my pearls? So.
Hold on a second. Am I oversharing?
No. Oh, God.
I love it when they moan. It makes me feel so powerful.
No, this is a good show. This is a happy show.
And the thing that when I do this to people, I used to do this to people a lot. They hit the wall. Crunch and splat karate. The unspoken rule was we keep going until somebody says stop.
Yeah.
And that's not what I'm good at. So what I learned was how to rest in motion.
Mm-hmm.
So while you were spending energy, you fell into my trap.
Mm-hmm.
If I wanted to move, I would make you move me.
Mm-hmm.
All I had to do is maintain my balance. But the energy came from you. If I wanted to kill you, I had to make you come in. So I gave you something that was just too good to pass up. So you did all the work.
Which is like the story of my life. Yikes, in a way. I actually, it was a phrase I coined a couple of years ago. I'm going to Daffy Duck the hell out of this. And, yikes, in a way. But I think the really valuable thing about this conversation is, I mean, you're what a lot of people would consider a high-end martial artist.
I used to be.
Yeah, it used to be. And, here you are telling us your story. And I mean, the theme that I get out of it is, gosh, I wish I had been a little smarter about how I'd gone about it.
That's the theme.
Yeah. And, for people who are watching this going, well, what does this have to do? I mean, with anybody can do this,
Anybody can jump off a bridge, too.
Yeah. But I mean, you took things to the pinnacle of what you could do with it. And now hindsight and wisdom says, I could have been just as fulfilled and saved myself a lot of aggravation.
Yeah. If I thought that there was like a 60-40 chance of pulling this stuff off,
mm-hmm.
If I could get a 2% net increase in ability with a 200% output of effort, I saw it as a bargain and went for it. Oopsie.
Now that is Daffy Ducking the hell out of something.
Yeah.
But I think this is really valuable for people to hear because, I mean, a lot of time, I mean, you look at history, you go to ancient Greece, the hoplites, the vaulted hoplites of ancient Greece, half of them were farmers and potters and I mean, the Spartans took it to an extreme and they became soldiers, but, their society collapsed under its own weight.
Well, here's the thing they don't tell you about the Spartans. At what age did they become ineffective? It costs you.
Yeah.
It costs you.
I mean, there's a point where you're the guy in back pushing with the shield in somebody's spine because you're not in the front, throwing the spear. I mean, on the topic of this. Oh, sorry, I just twitched and switched to the wrong camera. On the topic of the Spartans, I think people cherry pick, what they admire about them, and they ignore the reality. And I was watching a documentary on them last night because I have it on DVD and it's got my favorite archaeologist, Brittany Hughes. She's just nice.
Family
Anyway,
Channel.
what?
Family Channel.
No, she is. She's literally just nice. She has She has a PhD. Her PhD. The topic of her PhD was the study of leisure in the ancient world, and performance, like circus performers, brothels, all sorts of things like that. So she's a character, but they were. She was talking about how they had there was this dance ritual where the boys in the agoge would dance and dance and dance, and the ritual was called agon. And she's like, it sounds okay, like a dance off, until you realize that the root word is our word agony.
Yes.
And so the thing that I hope people get out of this conversation, the reason why I wanted you on the first live show, one is you're patient while this technical crap went
I was in a hurry once. It didn't end well then. I've learned not to hurry.
Yeah. But I think that people are like, I just started fencing. How can I do that? I mean, we're talking to this guy who, karate and fencing and all this stuff at a pulse rate of 32. The
38
message
to 42. Let's not get carried away with it.
I'm sorry. 12. And
The body fat percentage of single digits. That's how stupid I was.
yeah.
Here's the thing, boys and girls. We talk about our body as if it's a machine, and at a mechanical level, it is. It's your body. There aren't that many spare parts. A lot of the spare parts require somebody else to die for you to have access to them. And entropy never sleeps. You will wear out. I know. If you're 20-something, you don't believe that, but trust me. No, don't trust me. If you don't believe it, you deserve what's coming. That's grandfatherly kindness. When you take an injury, stop training and heal. This isn't medieval Japan where you can face a disgruntled samurai just by getting out of bed and leaving your house in the morning, who will then try to separate your head from your shoulders. Your life is not on the line here. It has rules that makes it a game. If you wear out your body, you end up with something like this. I have no more cartilage in my wrists, and now that I'm 73 years old, I have plenty of arthritis in my wrists, and you have to live in that body. There's no place else for you to go. The drugs that mask pain, mask sensation, only have a window of opportunity. They'll work for X amount of time, and after X plus 1, their efficacy fades. The pain comes back, and now you've got nothing to moderate it. You have to live in this body. It's yours. treat it with care. It's going to wear out soon enough anyway. Why hurry it? Nobody told me that when I needed to hear it. So I'm telling you this now, and those of you who really understand it have already experienced it. And those of you who don't understand it don't think it's going to happen to you. Well, my goodness, aren't you in for a surprise? So, sorry to interrupt you.
No. That's right. Right now, I'm looking at our stream. Our stream is a little on the unhealthy side.
And my urologist told me that.
Yeah. Well, that's good because that didn't go on air. Oh, now we're back. As soon as you mentioned urologist, we're back on track. So, no, you didn't interrupt. This is why you're here, because you're a prime example of the cost of high function.
I mean, if there's a fortune to be made, I mean, every linebacker, every lineman, quarterbacks, I mean, football players, they're putting their sanity on the line. They're getting paid millions of dollars to put their sanity on the line, and evidently these guys think it's worth it.
Well, some of them are. I mean, one of the problems with the NFL is a lot of your rank and file players are not getting the money to sustain their life after they're spent. To be honest with you, I have a problem with college sports, on a whole, because you've got kids that are being used up, and then they end up walking like me, which,
or unable to pick up a coffee cup.
Unable to pick up a coffee cup. Muhammad Ali died of impact-related Parkinson's. I mean, I got to tell you, I'm an Ali fan. I've always loved Muhammad Ali. I watched footage of the rope-a-dope, and he's just,
letting somebody else do all the work.
George Frazier is throwing a shot at, and Ali is just nope, and then he mocks him and gets him to go even harder and dodges even more.
Sure, because Frazier was starting to smarten up, and Ali made him emotional, and he stopped thinking.
Yeah, and I mean, the other thing I like about Muhammad Ali is that he took all that derision that he got on the chin,
mm-hmm.
but as he aged, he was a principled guy.
He was a principled guy even before he aged.
Yeah, well, I mean, I remember seeing an interview where he was. It was on 60 Minutes, and with Ed Bradley, and he falls asleep. He just kind of nods off, and he mumbles something, and Ali's daughter goes, "I think he's talking to you." He's clearly asleep, and he's old, and Ed Bradley leans in to listen, and Ali just uppercut, stops it right there. And, I mean, he's got the shakes, yep. He's got all this stuff, but he was, he just, it was funny. He pulled a practical joke on a major newscaster, but then he would do card tricks for people, and his religion, he couldn't lie. And so what he would do is he would do the card trick for you and then show you how the trick was done, which I thought was really neat because he did it for kids. Anyhow, the thing that I just wanted to say, it's really good to have these perspectives, like from you, because I mean you can relay it and articulate it very well. And other people can realize, yes, I can do this, and I don't have to kill myself to do it.
No, you don't.
I don't have to do a set of 100, 3 sets of 100 push-ups and sit-ups a day just to get the machine to work. I can get up and I can walk around. Maybe I can stretch a little bit and I can flex, and I can learn the technique to do
the exercises properly.
Do the exercise properly.
If you do a sit-up wrong, you destroy your back.
Yeah. So I want to. There's a question I actually really want to ask you, because I want to pull this into kind of like the fun,
mm-hmm.
the fun of this, because that's the other reason we do it is it's
fun.
Really
it's
fun. You know, I mean, there are so many people that are worried about their win-loss record, or how am I going to be a master, or any of that stuff.
Those are ego concerns.
Yeah. What was your favorite bout? I'm not going to say fight because
My favorite bout.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really hard one to answer because there were so many of them. I mean, I remember the time that Nigel and I played a stalking game at Penzic.
Mm-hmm.
And we were not throwing any shots because the only shot I had, I wasn't going to take that. That was going to leave me too open.
Yeah.
And the only shot he had, he wasn't going to take because that would leave him in the wrong position. And we just stalked each other for like 15 minutes. One shot got thrown, fight was over.
Nice.
And one person said, "When are they going to start fighting?" The other person said, "Are you new at this?" They started fighting at the salute.
Yeah.
And that was certainly accurate. Well, we talked about it earlier, the time that you and I were doing a live steel demo at the Cathedral of All Saints.
Yeah.
You know, we legged each other at the same time, and in that game, when you lose a limb, you use the function of limb, you stop using it. So if you lose your arm, you put it behind your back. If you lose a leg, you sit down. And we legged each other at the same time. We're still in range, and we fought all the way to the ground.
Yeah.
That was great. You know,
Yeah.
that was just great.
There's also the infamous bear pit fight.
Ah, yes, the bear pit fight. Well,
Yeah.
now that I'm no longer in the SEA and can't be censured for it, this is back in the dark ages of rapier, or the late dark ages, because I wasn't there at the dark ages. And rapier fighters were openly insulted and viewed with contempt and disdain. And one of the campfire conversations that the armored fighters, the guy who would wear the suit of armor, would masturbate themselves to was, if a fencer and a heavy weapons fighter met for real, who would win? And everybody said, heavy weapons. Heavy weapons. Yeah. Some butt will get kicked. Well, I had, this was in late July, so I had authorized and singled 2 months earlier. So I was right at the beginning of my so-called career, and before the bus accident that destroyed my back, where I still had mobility. And at Coldwood, I don't know the township it was. It was in northern New York, and this guy has a farm that he actually made an SCA theme park out of. There's a tavern. There's an actual bear pit. It's like, what was it, like 15 feet square by 15 feet deep, and the door opened inward because, well, a bear, trying to get out would be pushing on it, wouldn't be able to get out. And there was no place with a 3-foot long sword, 35-inch blade, that you could actually disengage it. Both practitioners stood at opposing corners and stuck their swords out. They overlapped by this much. There's no way to disengage. You go in there and Katie bar the door. And my favorite form, and also the one I am most effective, is bear pit. 2 people go in, the winner stays. So I go in and I lose. I go in and I win, and I go in and I lose. I go in and I win, and I go in and I win, and I go in and I lose. I go and I lose, and I go and I win, and then I win, and then I win, and then I win, and then I win, then I win. Because I've hit my stride, the machine's warmed up, tactical computers online and functioning. And I'm so in what's called the zone that I see everything. If you twitch your foot, I know what you're setting up for by how far you've twitched which foot, the front, the rear, whether it's loaded or unloaded. I can see it all in a gestalt. And I just wait there just long enough for you to commit to a line of attack, and then let you run into my blade. Fight's over. Next. The salutes were taking longer than the fights, and the heavy weapons guys wanted to get in there because the rapier guys have been in there for a long time. They said, all right, as soon as we get Pierre out. And I'm told it was about a half hour after that, and I had been in there for a long time.
Yeah.
that the heavy weapons guys got tired of waiting. So when the door opened up, and I saw a Norman kite shield, and the guy walked in and went over here, and I saw someone with one of those curved Roman shields dressed as a centurion and clad in lorica, and he went over into this corner. And I'm like, the first thought I had is, their armor isn't proof against my weapon. And the face bars are like this far apart. I could easily throw a shot in there and take your eye out. And my armor was just cloth, and they're holding swords that are made out of rattan. And they're going to beat me like a rented baby harp seal. So I backed up into my corner. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know that I was supposed to yield the field. They didn't tell me I had to yield the field. The guy with the shield and sword and board, takes a ready position. And the actually no, he wasn't the guy with the shield, because he had two maces, two mass weapons.
Yeah.
He takes a ready position, and it's like, game on. So I don't know what to do, and I'm waiting, and there's the crowd, and at one point they all stopped to go, and that was the time I said, fuck it, and charged. I bounced the Roman off the back wall, put both of my swords, because I was fighting Case, two swords, pulled him. He came in. I caught his shield with my elbow, came inside, put my swords up reversed, cut him. And I had so much fun, I did it again. Got him again, patted them on the shoulders, says, you guys are funny, and left.
Now I was watching this, and I was just speechless, and it's it happens so fast, but I remember one guy twitched and was in the wall.
Yep.
And it was like magic.
Yeah.
And so the one comment was from the, and I don't want to give his name, but the guy who owned the site. He goes, after watching all the fence, he goes, I thought we were going to be the first ones to actually kill somebody. And he walked off. And he walked off dejected. He walked off like somebody.
Somebody took my lollipop.
And then peed in my birthday cake, And he's a great guy. He's a nice guy, but still there was that moment where you changed his worldview.
Changed a lot of people's worldview.
Oh yeah.
About 2 years later, I was at Penzic, that big do that we go to in Western Pennsylvania for 2 weeks, and I was out there on the rapier field, and I was having a good time, so fighting this guy from out in California, West Kingdom. So we were all done, and he said, that was a lot of fun. I said, I had no point in doing it if it's not fun. And so we're sitting there and gum flapping and jaw jacking. And he says, so where are you from? I said, from the East. His head picks up. He says, the East? Yeah. You ever been to Coldwood? I said, Coldwood. Disneyland for SCA.
Yeah. Oh no, I think I know what's coming.
And he said, were you there like 2 years ago, summer before last? I said, yeah. He said, I heard a rumor. I said, what rumor? And I'm thinking to myself, nah, he can't be talking about that.
No,
nobody would ever talk about that.
That would be wrong.
Wrong. So he said, well, people have been talking for a long time, Heavy and Rapier got together, Heavy and Fencing got together, is what they called it in those days.
Yeah.
Who would win? Everybody thought it was going to be the Heavy guy. I said, yeah, that's what I heard too. He said, that's not what happened there, is it? I said, no. He said, one fencer took on two heavy fighters? I said, yeah. And I'm told he killed them both. I said, yeah. How many times? I said, twice. He said, so you were there. I said, why would I lie to you? And he said, how did that happen? I said, it's difficult to say because from where I was standing, I couldn't really see a lot. He said, but it did happen. I said, oh, yeah. I said, you could hear this funny popping noise from the crowd. He said, what was it? I said, everybody's anus is slamming shut. I said, because they all thought, oh, look, the dogs are here to get the cat out of the sandbox. Wrong.
Yeah.
It's amazing what you can do when you don't know you can't do it.
So did you tell the guy it was you?
No. Why would I do that?
Because that's how legends never die. Well,
See?
yeah.
There, somewhere out in California, this guy now is probably. Yeah, I remember the time I went to Penzic. I talked to this CK fighter, and he said, "Yeah, that thing at Coldwood really happened. Killed both them buggers twice."
The really neat thing is, now that we've got it on, it's out in the universe.
Yeah, it's out in the universe.
It'd be really funny is if that guy is watching this or does watching it. Son of a.
Yes, I am a son of a, and the reason I didn't tell you is because you didn't ask.
Yeah.
And it was true. Where I was standing, I was about 20 feet away from the nearest light source, and it was a tiki torch. I didn't see very much. I kind of went by the glint of their helmets.
Yeah.
I saw enough.
I mean, I just remember one going into the wall, and I remember one guy trying to get up and got just put back in the wall.
That was the Roman.
Yeah.
Because when he picked those things up, he went,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
So I just dropped. I hit him in the solar plexus, and when he started to bend over, and he bent over real quick, I just stood up and just tossed him into the wall. About the time he was about halfway to his feet, I got to him the second time and scissored him.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you the thing about this that it's just hilarious is when you walked out of there, you just kind of did. You have a way of walking out of a situation.
I learned that from my cat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not quite a strut.
It has to be.
But it's
yeah, I know what I did. Walk.
Yeah.
I know what I did.
Yeah. You owned it and let everybody know that
I owned it.
You owned it.
And we've had this conversation other times. If your horn needs to be blown, it should not be your lips on the mouthpiece.
Yeah.
If I really was all that, there are people out there who'll say, I don't need to say that.
Yeah.
At the time, what my brain was going on is like, I don't know what to do. And then they took ready positions. Fine, attack.
Yeah.
These guys are going to pound me into pulp. This is going to be my only move.
Yep.
And if I do it right, I don't need another one.
Yeah.
It was a desperation move. It was a Hail Mary.
Yeah. It's time.
And then I walked out like my cat taught me. Yeah, I meant to do that.
Yeah. And it's funny. I've watched you. I've watched you exit fights, and one of the, I gotta switch to the one where I'm talking. I've watched you exit fights, and I can tell when you don't really respect the person that you're fighting, and it's always there's always something. Like I seem to recall you once, like they dropped to the ground. They're lying on the ground, and you just kind of walked up and took like the edge of their fencing jacket and used it to
clean my blade.
Clean the blade,
yeah.
and you walked off. Like, this is nothing, and went out. And that was, I mean, I was young. I mean, I was like 20, 25, 26, and like, oh God, someday I'll be that cool, and no, never.
No, you're your own cool. You don't have to be my cool.
Yeah, exactly. And it took a lot of years. It took a lot of years to learn that. But God, I love the stories, that we've collected.
Yeah.
From having fun.
Yeah.
And not all of it was illegal.
No, not all of it.
Not all of it.
The really fun ones
Yeah.
were illegal, but
Yeah.
the rest of it, I mean, it's a game. You're supposed to have fun. It doesn't matter whether you're a martial artist, a boxer, a bobsled racer, or a car. You're supposed to enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you pay attention to how you're doing, you're always going to be a move behind because now you've involved your ego. Your ego is the part of your brain that's concerned with your status. How am I doing? Am I winning? Am I losing? Do I look good? Do they think I'm a fool? What are you doing?
Yeah.
There's one fight, there's this fight, there's just the guy in front of you. And it doesn't matter what he could possibly do to you. All that matters is what he could do to you from that position there.
Yeah.
And when he changes, what he could do changes. And if your mind is calm and you're paying attention, and it's amazing how many people don't pay attention. If they paid attention, I would never have ever one-shot at anyone. You can see all of that. Now that he's standing this way, he can go this way or that way. Now he can go that way and this way. Well, if he's got to go that way and this way, why don't I stand over here? Oh, it takes him a while to reset. Okay, let's play. And then I'll draw him over here, and he comes over here, and I'll come over here, and as he starts to turn around, in no hurry, because the last time he had plenty of time, I kill him. It's a game.
One of the fun. I'm listening to you talk about this, and one of the sword styles I study, Terza.
Mm-hmm.
The circle is just what you described. Oh, they went here, so I've got that, and that's what the lines do, where they intersect.
Yeah.
And some of them,
Kenpo has a circle like that too, and it's very, very similar to the Spanish circle.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah, I looked at that. I said, "Bloody hell! I've been looking at that for 40 freaking years."
Yeah, and the day I figured it out, because no one told me this. You know how martial artists are.
Sure, you got to figure it out for yourself.
You got to figure it out for yourself. Somebody at some point could have said, "Hey, the thing's a computer." I had just blocked a cut or something like that, and I realized that what I thought was just a footwork line was actually also an indicator of where that cut was going to come from, and that it couldn't come from anywhere else.
Right.
And
as soon as it's narrowed down to a gate.
Yeah. You go. You go from thinking you've got to block something this big, to then you've got to block something this big, and then you've got to block something this big.
Yep.
And it's just a
with
neat
rapier,
thing.
to my way of looking at it, the spot equidistant between the two players is a circle about that big, just about navel height. And the person that controls that sphere controls the game.
In kendo, they call that the ma'ai.
Yeah,
the space between. And I got to tell you, I watched. All right, so on YouTube, by the way, folks, on YouTube, there's a really, really grainy old National Geographic about the eighth dan kendo test, which has a pass rate lower than the bar exam. And it was just such an interesting thing to watch, with people trying to do it. And it came down to 120 seconds. So round one, they check you to see if you know kendo. Round two, they check to see if you know kendo. And then round three is a written exam. Which, if you make it to round three, I think you can write, "I love kendo," and you'll probably do it. But the eighth dan test is a really serious thing.
Yeah.
And there are people that have taken it over and over and over and over again who are,
Still seventh dans.
Still seventh dans and will die seventh dans. But you know what? This is the thing about rank that I find really interesting. I twitched on the button again. It doesn't really mean anything. But
it's an indicator. But it's not a definition.
Yeah, the quality of an eighth dan versus a seventh dan. Can you take that and granulate it and serve it up?
By the time you get to that level, you really have to know what you're looking at.
Yeah.
Because the differences are so minute.
But I'm not saying that there's no value in dan ranking or anything like that. I'm just saying that you are who you are, and to never pass the eighth dan test and be a seventh dan is still an accomplishment of
major accomplishment.
monumental proportion. And like in the SCA, you can be, you can be a white scarf and never go beyond that. That's still an accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
That's still a real thing. It doesn't detract from the other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it comes down to your choices. So, that's one thing that, the older I get, the more comfortable I become with these ideas. And I really like the philosophical side of things. The mind. How do I get my mind in the right way that I can make my fencing better, and I mean, I went to a practice recently, and I was fighting somebody new that I pegged as an epee or saber fencer.
Mm-hmm.
By the way they were moving, and I remember
The giveaway to that is if their knuckles are dragging, it's saber.
yeah. What's the joke? Why do saber fencers have bruised knuckles?
From what?
Stairs.
Stairs.
Dump. But this kid, he was a young kid. He was fun. It was a fun fight. But I remember turning to somebody who had just fought him because it was my turn, and I said, "Oh, this is going to be bad." And they go, "Why?" I said, "Oh, I'm just going to lose." Younger, faster, stronger, quicker, all that. Yeah, I'm gonna get my head handed to me. And I said it without regret or rancor. It was, I'm going out to practice. This is what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna go practice my thing. And it is what it is. I think that's the thing that people lack a lot of times. Because they're so concerned about whether they're going to win or lose the bout. They make everything life or death. But it's life or death of the ego. And
yes,
even in period, in the period where they were doing this, okay.
It wasn't a game.
Yeah, when it wasn't a game. But you know what? It was also a game. Because you got like the London Masters of Defense who had a pyramid scheme. They're making money. And you don't make money if your members are dead. So, and they had the whole conflict with Saviolo and Geronimo and Rocco Bonetti, the Italians coming in, kind of horning in on the action, but only in Geronimo's case, I think, was it lethal. And they liked Geronimo. That's the thing. They liked Geronimo. They thought he was pretty decent. They hated Saviolo. And he died of probably natural causes. I mean, George Silver was really ticked off when Saviolo died because
He didn't get a chance to kill him.
he didn't get to gloat. In the book, he's always talking about what a tool Saviolo is, and then 1593 he was dead. Meaning, he didn't get to gloat because if Saviolo got murdered by one of the Masters of Defense, we would have heard about it we'd still be
hearing about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So now when we deal with fencers, there are a lot of people who are fighting with their egos because, they don't have a lot. By the way, I got you on camera drinking. Sorry about that.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I know it doesn't matter, but it's just kind
We're
of funny.
having beer and pizza. What the hell?
Yeah. So the thing I always wanted people to understand is you are what you are in the moment of contact. You're not anything else. There's no I'm gonna be. There's no I was. There's just I am. And pull out the best I am you got. Mm-hmm. And go for it and enjoy it. I think that a lot of people miss that thing, and that's another thing I want to do.
Our culture doesn't foster that. I mean, school is not concerned with what you know. Mm-hmm. School is concerned with how you perform. I mean, I really do wish I had $1 for every time I had a teacher or guidance counselor or somebody in some sort of academic authority say, "You're underperforming."
How would you know? I mean,
it's a performance.
Ta-da!
Yeah. I mean, by the time my body was too decrepit to continue, and close the door and all of that, I'd gotten to the point where I had come to the realization that where I was standing was more important than what I planned on doing from there.
Mm-hmm.
And that if I was blocking or parrying, I was standing in the wrong spot. So, whereas, say, up to Shodan, half of my game was maneuver,
Mm-hmm.
and Nidon, 7/8 of my game was maneuver. My ready position, I would just stand there. My arms at my side, facing them square.
Yeah.
Ready? Hi, sensei. You don't look ready. Good, sensei. That's all I would ever say. And they say, here he goes again. A fortune cookie. We can't talk to him. All right, fine. We'll just say Hajime and he'll get his comeuppance. The other person hadn't done anything.
Yeah.
I am standing out of range. So he makes a move and nothing's really changed. I don't have to do anything. And he just launches forward into an attack, and I just take a sideways step and turn and look at him as he goes by.
That's got to be the most Wait.
Yes, it's
having been there. Yes, that is the most aggravating thing.
Very aggravating.
Yeah.
Get them emotional, and by that point, you within seconds you can work somebody up. Somebody who's trained and should know something. You can work them up to a point where they will do anything to get to you.
Yeah.
Well, I just make sure it's die.
Yeah.
You will do anything. Well, then you have to die to get to me, and it worked. A point I wanted to make about training, and I was thinking about it on the ride over here. Asset, liability. Training is an asset.
Mm-hmm.
Training is a liability. It's not what you know. It's how you apply, however much you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I have seen black belts with numbers of stripes on their belt that I know. If the excrement hit the mechanical air circulation device in a biker bar, standing next to them is the worst place to be standing. Because blood is really hard to get out of your clothes, and it wouldn't be their opponents.
Yeah.
Because they thought they knew more than they did, and certainly a lot more than they could use. And I watched one black belt. He didn't get his head removed, but I'm sure he didn't remember any part of that day previous.
Yeah.
Because he got hit in the head so hard, and I was standing there watching this thing unfold, and I'm watching him ticking off the targets. Well, wonderful, you know where the targets are. Bam! Why didn't you do something?
Yeah.
So, when the balloon goes up, and I got it, and thankfully it's, the older I get, the less common it is. I haven't laid rough hands on somebody in almost 40 years. His first mistake was his last.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to get another one.
I'm listening to an audiobook right now called Gates of Fire by Stephen Pressfield, which is about the Battle of Thermopylae. But it's also about humanizing the Spartans,
Mm-hmm.
and there's one phrase. I mean, I've listened to this multiple times. I've read the hard copy multiple times. It's just a really good book. And there's one phrase delivered by Dionysius, who is the wise character in the story. The warrior. The warrior philosopher who studies fear and asks questions like, what's the opposite of fear? Well, anyway, there was a social confrontation between the demigod hero, Polynices. I love that name. For those that don't know, Poly, many, victory, Nike's victory. So Polynices had just been socially inept in the company of the officers' mess, berating Dionysius' protege. And they're having words outside, and this is unheard of. You don't speak outside of the mess, but they're having words outside, and everyone's politely not hearing this. And Dainiki says, may you never, ever have to fight as many battles as you've already won in your own mind. And that, when I first read that, that changed a lot for me. I mean, when I consume things, I try to let them, I try to let the lesson that the author or the artist or whatnot, what they're trying to tell me. And so, that one was profound. And it changed how I fenced. It changed how I thought I fenced. It changed how I perceived myself, And it was the origin of, we'll see how this goes. And that's how I fight now. We'll see how this goes. And, also some of that is, because of you, we'll see how this goes. Because, sometimes fighting you don't have a choice. You're going to see how it goes. Sometimes fighting you do have a choice. And you can try to make it go a certain way. But, you always foil the plan. That, by the way, and the reason why I bring this up, not to butter your bread, but, that's a good partner. And I think that's something that's really important in any kind of endeavor, but especially in a combat sport. We were never rivals.
Oh.
But we fought.
Yeah.
Those were fights.
Those were fights.
And they were fun, but we were never rivals. And I really like that. I don't have that with very many people.
Well, you're not their rival. Well, they aren't your rival.
Yeah.
But you're their rival.
Yeah.
What goes on in their heads is not your responsibility.
Yeah.
And rarely a person's fault.
Yeah.
If I walk over and stuck my finger in your eye, what happens in your mind is my fault.
Yeah.
But absent of any direct action to you or against you, what goes on in a person's mind, that's on them.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree with you. I think that's, and I think more people need to think about that, and,
More people need to think.
well, yeah, hard of thinking is a thing.
Yeah.
But, that's the way of the world,
I noticed.
So I think at this point, I mean, we've been at this, we got a late start, but we've been at this for a while, and I think we got to kind of wrap it up.
Okay.
Give
Train accurately. Train consistently. If you don't know what you're doing, don't do it until you do.
Nice.
Don't train any faster than technical accuracy permits, because there's nothing is for now. It's forever if you keep doing it. And you will never do what you don't train to do. You will also never do, you will do who you are. If you want to know who you are, watch what you do.
That now I can see why they called you Fortune Cookie.
Yep.
Yeah.
You betcha.
No, seriously.
Them sweet and crunchy.
Yeah. Did your sensei, was that a nickname for you that he gave you?
What, Fortune Cookie?
Fortune Cookie.
No, actually, I got that in the SCA.
Really?
Yeah. She was out of Connecticut, little short, heavy-set lady, hung with shark.
Oh, wait. No, she was from Maine. Older lady?
Mm-mm.
Not the lady?
No, young.
Not Brita.
No, not Brita.
Yeah.
But she called me, you Brita's a hoop. But yeah, she called me Fortune Cookie. I need to talk to my Fortune Cookie. Why? I'm going into a tournament and I don't know what to do. I had no idea you were a virgin. Well, I'm not. Well, then you know what to do. What's the problem?
Yeah.
Let yourself do it. Give yourself permission.
I never knew that you had the nickname Fortune Cookie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I got a lot of nicknames you don't know.
Well,
Nor shall thee.
Well, yeah, because, I won't be testifying or anything like that. So, this has been Terza TV. This has been live. I want to thank our guest.
Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah. Really.
And thank you for paying attention.
Yeah. Wayne Spinacci, a.k.a. Don Pierre, a.k.a. Knuckles. which, it's a term of endearment.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember that day.
Yes.
It's one of the few days I remember clear as a bell.
That's wonderful, honey.
Which means that it's probably not even remotely true to what what
it's
actually happened.
what happened.
Okay.
And so, having reached this highly sophisticated and elevated point, good night, Gracie.
Yeah.
Hit the off button, Sparky.
I'm going to hit the off button now. Okay, folks. Have a good night.